Have you ever wondered what truly lies beneath the surface of aggressive or violent behavior? Beyond the anger we often see, there's frequently a more hidden, potent emotion at play. It's a feeling so deeply uncomfortable, so profoundly painful, that some individuals will go to extreme lengths to escape it, even resorting to violence. Today, we're going to explore this powerful, often misunderstood connection, the intricate dance between shame and violence. Welcome. In the complex world of criminal psychology, we delve into the hidden drivers of human behavior, and one of the most significant, yet often overlooked drivers of aggression is shame. It's not just a fleeting embarrassment, it's a profound, self-conscious emotion stemming from feelings of inadequacy, humiliation, or a deep-seated belief that one is fundamentally flawed. Understanding this link isn't just academic, it's critical for unraveling the roots of criminal behavior, and perhaps more importantly, for developing more effective strategies for intervention and rehabilitation. To truly grasp this, we first need to make a crucial distinction, one that's often blurred in everyday language. Think about the difference between shame and guilt. Guilt is usually about an action. You feel guilty because you did something bad. It's adaptive. It prompts remorse and a desire to make amends. You might think, I made a mistake and I want to fix it. But shame is different. It's about who you are. It's that gut-wrenching feeling that you are bad, you are unworthy, you are fundamentally flawed. And because it attacks your very sense of self, shame often leads to a desire to hide, to disappear, or quite powerfully, to lash out. This distinction is vital because unacknowledged or deep-seated shame can create an incredibly intense internal pressure. When healthy ways to process this emotion are absent, that pressure can build and build, often transforming into anger. This is what we call the shame-anger-violence cycle. Imagine a person who feels deeply shamed, perhaps from a perceived failure or a past trauma. That shame festers, boiling into anger. And if they lack the tools to cope, that anger can escalate into violence. Violence, in this context, becomes a desperate, compensatory act. It's a way to protect a fragile self, to restore a sense of power or autonomy, or to deflect attention from those perceived flaws by making someone else feel small. Consider someone who has experienced repeated humiliation throughout their lives. Experiences of real or perceived humiliation are often direct precursors to overwhelming shame, which can then trigger a violent outburst. It's as if their emotional system is constantly on high alert, and any new slight, however minor, can feel like a direct assault on their already vulnerable sense of self, leading to an explosive reaction. So, how do people deal with this agonizing internal experience? One common yet destructive coping mechanism is the externalization of shame. Instead of acknowledging their own pain, individuals might project it outward. They blame others, direct aggression outward through bullying, hostility, resentment, or seeking revenge. The underlying goal is often to alleviate their own pain by making someone else feel inferior, thereby shifting the spotlight away from their own perceived inadequacy. This brings us to two very different ways societies and justice systems can respond to wrongdoing, as famously theorized by criminologist John Braithwaite: stigmatizing shame versus reintegrative shame. Stigmatizing shame is what we often see. It treats the wrongdoer as an outcast, labeling them as inherently bad. It focuses on their flaw, not just the act. This approach is frankly counterproductive. Research consistently shows it exacerbates criminal behavior, leads to denial, increases substance abuse, psychological distress, and ultimately recidivism. It pushes people further away.
Reintegrative shaming, on the other hand, is a more hopeful and effective approach. It condemns the criminal act while treating the offender respectfully as a person who made a mistake. It says, what you did was wrong, but you, as a person, still have value. This approach aims to encourage the acknowledgement of shame, promote genuine remorse, and facilitate reintegration into the community. It's about building bridges, not burning them. Central to this more constructive approach is something called shame competence. This isn't about being shameless. It's about having the capacity to recognize, understand, and constructively process shame in oneself and in others. When individuals, and even systems, develop shame competence, it fosters empathy, genuine remorse, and can lead to positive behavioral change. It's learning to sit with an uncomfortable emotion without letting it destroy you or make you lash out. You might also observe certain defensive behaviors in violent offenders. Some adopt what's known as a narcissistic facade or engage in hyper-masculine displays. This macho image is often a desperate defense against perceived softness or vulnerability, which they equate with shame. By appearing tough, dominant, and unemotional, they try to deflect any hint of the shame they might be feeling, especially when their self-worth is tied to traditional, rigid ideas of masculinity. It's also crucial to understand that chronic shame doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's frequently linked to profound experiences of trauma and adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. Childhood exposure to violence, abuse, neglect, and chronic humiliation significantly increases a person's vulnerability to shame-proneness and consequently to aggression in adulthood. These early experiences can hardwire a person to interpret even minor slights as deep personal attacks, leading to a shame-fueled response. Many brilliant minds have contributed to our understanding here. Psychiatrist James Gilligan, for example, argues that shame, the desire to avoid or eliminate feelings of shame and humiliation, is the primary or ultimate cause of all violence. Criminologist John Braithwaite gave us the powerful distinction between stigmatizing and reintegrative shaming, and psychologists like June Tangney and Donald Nathanson have deepened our insights into shame's specific mechanisms and reactions. Their work, alongside many others, forms the bedrock of this crucial field. Now, while the theoretical links are strong, applying this understanding in practice brings its own set of challenges and debates. One of the biggest questions is about the effectiveness of shame-based interventions. Can we truly use shame as a tool for change, especially with violent offenders? The consensus is that while acknowledging shame is important, approaches that intentionally inflict shame, like public shaming sentences, are overwhelmingly counterproductive. Research clearly shows that stigmatizing shame leads to denial, increased psychological distress, and more crime, not less. It simply doesn't work. The practical application of reintegrative shaming within our existing justice frameworks also faces significant hurdles. How do we condemn the act without accidentally condemning the person? Some restorative justice advocates are wary of any form of shaming, even the reintegrative kind, fearing it might cause more harm. Yet others argue that accountability and genuine remorse require offenders to acknowledge the shame associated with their actions, not their being. It's a delicate balance. Another critical area of debate revolves around how shame is processed internally. Does it lead to internalization, where offenders blame themselves, potentially leading to depression or further denial? Or does it primarily lead to externalization, manifesting as aggression and blame towards others? Understanding this differential impact is crucial because confronting offenders with shame might inadvertently trigger harmful internalization if not handled with immense care, just as externalization poses immediate risks of violence. Effective rehabilitation must navigate both these paths.
Broadening the perspective. More broadly, this entire discussion is underpinned by a societal question. Do our prevailing attitudes prioritize punishment over genuine rehabilitation? The relatively limited focus on addressing offense-related shame in non-psychiatric offending populations might reflect a societal inclination towards retribution rather than understanding and healing. Considering diverse factors. Finally, we must acknowledge demographic and cultural differences. Vulnerability to shame-induced violence can be heightened in marginalized groups who may already experience systemic humiliation. The expression and impact of shame and its link to violence can also vary significantly across cultural contexts and gender roles, with hypermasculinity being a specific area of interest for male offenders. There's no one-size-fits-all answer. So, where do we go from here? The future of this field lies in addressing these controversies head-on. It involves developing better ways to measure shame and guilt in offenders, rigorously testing interventions that incorporate reintegrative shaming principles, and truly understanding the psychological and neurological pathways from shame to violence. We need to find practical ways to implement reintegrative shaming within the criminal justice system, approaches that promote accountability and rehabilitation without resorting to counterproductive stigmatization. Concluding thoughtfully, ultimately, exploring the connection between shame and violence isn't just about understanding why people commit crimes. It's about recognizing the profound human need for dignity, respect, and belonging. By peeling back the layers of anger and aggression and understanding the shame that often lies beneath, we can move closer to creating a justice system and a society that not only punishes, but also truly heals and reintegrates, fostering a path away from violence and towards genuine change. It's a challenging journey, but one that holds immense promise for a more just and compassionate world.